Hey folks, Mr. Carter here, ready to do HomeLink 6.8. Go ahead and put your name on this if you haven't yet already, and let's begin. Alright, so for this assignment we are interpreting remainders. So we're going to be having division problems with remainders, and then we're going to have to figure out what we want to do with those remainders. So let's take a look at our first problem. So we've got Mrs. Patel bought a box of 124 strawberries to the party. She wants to divide the strawberries evenly among 8 people. How many strawberries will each person get? So I'm going to go ahead and divide 124 by 8. My side thing there, and then I'm going to do. So let's go and do let's do 10. So if I go 10 times 8 is 80. If I take away 80, that's 4. Take away 0 is 4. And then I'm left with, I'm going to carry trade over here. So it's 12 take away 8. That would be 44. So if I go 5 times 8 is 40. And that will give me a remainder of 4 because I can't go ahead and divide anymore with only 4 left because we need to divide it into 8. I'm going to add up my side numbers over here. And I got 10 plus 5 is a total of 15 with a remainder of 4. So our number model here with our unknown is this. So we got 124 divided by 8 equals S for our unknown. And then our answer would be 15 and with a remainder of 4. But we got to take a closer look at that. Actually, let me just go down here and let's just finish this out. So we've got 124 again divided by 8, and our answer here is 15 with a remainder of 4. That's our number model with our answer. So we want to take a look at exactly how many strawberries can each person get. Well, if I've got 4 strawberries left over, so I'm going to go ahead and draw 4 circles to represent my strawberries. I can cut each strawberry in half, and then that would give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces that I could give evenly to the 8 people. So that would give each person 15 strawberries and a half of a strawberry each. Again, because I took my remainder of 4 and I cut those 4 strawberries in half, and that gives enough pieces for 8 people to have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, each person is going to get a half of a strawberry. So the answer is each person is going to get 15 and a half strawberries. So what did we do about the remainder? Well, we didn't ignore it because we used it. Reported it as a fraction. That's exactly what we did because we were able to take those strawberries and cut them in half. So we didn't round the answer up, but what we did do is reported it as a fraction. Well, why? Because we are able to cut the remaining strawberries in half. So again, why? Because we were able to cut the remaining strawberries in half. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So Mr. Chu has a box of 250 pens. He asks Maurice to divide the pens into groups of 8. How many groups can Maurice make? So again, we're going to do 250 divided by 8. So we're going to go 200, our number model that are known as 250 divided by 8 equals, we can just do groups for groups, G for groups. And we don't know our answer yet, we'll put that in a little bit, but so we'll go ahead and do that. So if I go 8 divided by 250, well, I can go 20, because I know that 2 times 8 is 160, and you add the extended 0 there. So that's 0. Carry, or trade, sorry, 1, that gives us 15, that's 8, so we're left with 80 and then that would be 10. Okay, I'm sorry about that. 15 take away 6 is not 8, it's actually 9. Sorry about that. So check my math there. So we could still do 10 groups of 8. So 10 times 8 would be 80. And then that would leave us with 10. So we could do one more group of 8. 1 times 8 is 8. And 8 take away 10 is 2. So we can no longer divide because we got 2 pens left over, and we can't make another group of 8. So we add our side thing, and we got 20 plus 10 plus 1 is 31 with a remainder of 2. So our answer is, let's go through here. So 250 divided by 8 equals 31 with a remainder of 2. So our answer is going to be how many groups? Well, it's going to be 31 groups. Because, so let's look at why we did that. So what did we do about the remainder? Well, we're going to ignore it in this case. We're not going to do anything with it. We're not going to make a new group with those 2 leftover pencils. We just can't. And pencils, well, we can't cut them like we did the strawberries and put them into groups because then the pens wouldn't work. So we're going to ignore the remainder of 2, and we're only going to be able to make 31 groups. So again, there aren't enough. So why did we do that? There are not enough pens to make another group. Okay. So let's look at our practice. So our practice is asking us to put these fractions in order from smallest to largest. So I went ahead and I just copied the fractions on another page for us to kind of just take a closer look at them. So for question 3, they were asking us to group 3/6, 3/3, 3/5, and 3/8. Well, what I noticed about all these is that the numerators are the same. So that makes it a little easier to put into order. So we know that when the numerators are the same, we're just going to be looking at our denominators to decide which fraction is bigger. So if I think of, like, for example, 3/3, I know that's 1 whole, and that's 3 pieces, and that's 3 pieces out of 3 to make a whole. So if I look at 3/6, for example, I know that 3/6 would be half. So I know that 3/6 is definitely smaller than 3/3, because if I had a pizza cut into 6 slices, the pieces would be smaller than a pizza sliced into 3 slices. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and put them in order according to the denominators. So the bigger the number, the smaller the piece. So the bigger number, the biggest number that we have in our denominator, let me just focus in here, is 3/8. That's going to be our smallest. And then after that, our biggest number is 3/6. That's going to be our next smallest. Then it's going to be 3/5. And then finally we have our whole, which is our 3/3. So this is the order that we put them in. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer my answer. So it's 3/8, 3/6, 3/5, and 3/3. Okay. So if we look at number 4, all our numerators are the same again. So just like we did with the numerators with 3, we're just going to look at our denominators and put them in order with the biggest number as our smallest piece. So we have 1/8 is our biggest. Then we're going to go to 1/5 and 1/4, and then lastly our half. So go ahead and transfer that. 1 out of 8 slices, 1 out of 5 slices, and 1 out of 4, and then 1 out of 2. Alright, so number 5 and 6 get a little bit harder. Let me just draw a line here. So we have to use different strategies to try to figure these out. So I'm going to use this benchmark strategy to figure out where numbers should go. So if I drew a number line, and I use, let's say, the benchmark at half, which we have here. Okay, and I try to figure out where, if they're bigger or less than half. Well, I know that 99 out of 100 is really close to one whole, because one whole would be 100 out of 100. So that's going to be our closest to one whole, 99 out of 100. So I'm going to put that over here. Now, so that leaves us with 2/3 and 6/8. Well, I know that if I was to try to go and make a common denominator, that would be 3 times 8 would be 24. So I went to figure out a denominator that would be the same. So I went 3 times 8 and got 24. Well, to go from 3 to 24, I have to go 3 times 8. So then I have to do the same thing to the numerator. So I'm going to go 2 times 8. That would give me 16/24. So that means 2/3 is equal to 16/24. So again, I did that by going 3 times 8 is 24, and then 2 times 8 is 16. So now, to get an equivalent fraction to the 6/8, I'm going to go 8 times 3 is 24. So I'm going to have to go to the one over here, 6 times 3, that is 18. So now I've got 16/24 and 18/24. So now I can easily compare those two. Now that 18/24 or 6/8 is a little bit bigger than 2/3. And I know that they're both bigger than 1/2. So it's going to be 1/2 times, and then 2/3, 6/8, and 99 hundredths. So 1/2, 2/3, 6/8, and 99 hundredths. Okay, so for our last one, let's draw a little line here. Again, I'm gonna have to group certain numbers here, and I notice that 2 have the same numerator, so I can compare those two. So I can go that I know that 4/6 will be smaller than 4/5. So I know that because, again, the numerators are the same. So the bigger the number on the bottom, the smaller the fraction. So now I can compare, and I'm going to put 81 hundredths and 2/10 together, because I can make 2/10 20 hundredths. So I know that 20 hundredths is bigger or smaller than 81 hundredths. But that doesn't mean that they go in this order. So we're going to have to try to figure out where they kind of belong on a number line. Okay, so I'm going to compare, go back to my 2/10, and I know that I can make 4/5. I can make fifths easily into tenths. So I know that if I go 5 times 2, so if I take 4/5 times it by 2, that'll give me tenths. And I know that 4 times 2 is 8. So I know that 2/10 and 8/10, that 2/10 is smaller. So I know that 2/10 needs to go way over here. Okay, and that means that 4/5 is 8/10, which means that it's 80 over 100, which means it's not quite as big as that 81 hundredths. So I know that 4/5 is really close to 81 hundredths, but not as big. And then I know that 4/6 is going to have to go somewhere in between, because 4/6 is smaller than 4/5. So the order that they belong in was 2/10, 4/6, 4/5, and 81 hundredths. All right, that's it for now. Hope this was helpful, and have a good night.